Ever wonder how a simple idea, a hunch, turns into something we can actually call a fact? Well, it's not magic, that's for sure. It's a process. And today, we're going to dig into the two main paths of research, the engine that turns our curiosity into real solid conclusions. So, what's the secret sauce? How do we make that jump from I think this is happening to I can prove this is happening? It really all comes down to looking at the world through two different but equally important lenses. Each one gives us a totally unique view of the truth.
All right, here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the two paths to truth. Then we'll zoom in on the quantitative approach, followed by the qualitative approach. After that, we'll see what happens when numbers and stories collide. And finally, we'll pack it all up into your own research toolkit. Let's jump in.
Okay, let's look through our first lens, the quantitative approach. Think of this as the world of what. It's all about measurement, it's about numbers, and it's about spotting patterns on a big scale. So what does that really mean? At its heart, quantitative research is about turning the world into numbers. It's a super organized way to collect data that we can then crunch using statistics. The main goal here? To quantify a problem, to put a number on it so we can understand just how big or small it really is.
And what kind of stuff are we measuring? Well, things like performance, how quickly can someone get something done? We're also tracking user behavior, like where they click, what pages they visit. We can even put a number on something that feels fuzzy, like satisfaction, by using things like rating scales.
And how do we actually get this data? I guarantee you've seen all of these out in the wild. We use surveys to get structured feedback, we use analytics to see how many people are visiting a page, and of course, there's A/B testing, the ultimate showdown to see which version of something actually performs better. Now, the big advantage here is that numbers feel objective, right? They're reliable. You can scale this up to thousands, even millions of people, and get really clear, actionable insights. But, and this is a big but, it has a huge blind spot. It's fantastic at telling you what is going on, but it almost never tells you why. It's missing the human story.
So if the numbers tell us what, then how in the world do we get to the why? Well, that brings us to our second lens, the qualitative approach.
This is where we get the story behind the data. Qualitative research is all about understanding people, their behaviors, their attitudes, their frustrations. It's not about counting things, it's about exploring the messy, complicated reasons people do what they do. It is all about the why and the how. You can see the goals here are totally different. We want to get inside our users' heads. What makes them tick? What drives them crazy? We want to see how their real life, their actual environment, plays into their experience. Honestly, this is where some of the best, most innovative ideas are born. And the tools we use are a lot more personal. We're talking one-on-one interviews to really dive deep into someone's feelings. We're running usability tests where we can literally watch over someone's shoulder as they use a product. We might even do studies where we just observe people in their natural habitat to get those incredible real-world insights. The absolute best thing about this approach is the rich, deep context you get. It's flexible, it's human, and you can uncover amazing things you weren't even looking for. The catch? It takes time. A lot of it. It's hard to do with huge groups of people, and you have to be careful because the results can be a bit more subjective. Okay, so we've got one method for the what's and another for the why. They're both useful on their own, for sure, but when you bring them together, oh man, that's when the picture really snaps into focus. This is where numbers meet narratives. Just think of it like this. Your quantitative data is like a smoke alarm. It's that loud, impossible to ignore signal that tells you, hey, something important is happening over here. It can't tell you what started the fire, but it makes sure you know there's a problem. So for example, imagine you're running an online store and you see this number pop up in your analytics, a whopping 85%. That's your cart abandonment rate. You know what is happening, people are leaving, but you have zero clue as to why. To figure that out, you've got to switch lenses. You have to go find the human story that's hiding behind that big, scary number. You got to go talk to some actual people. And then, after maybe just a few conversations with your users, you hear this. And boom, suddenly it all clicks. That anonymous 85% now has a voice and a very clear problem. The what, the high abandonment rate, is perfectly explained by the why, a confusing design. And now you know exactly what you need to fix. So let's tie this all together and build a simple, practical toolkit you can use. This is all about knowing how to get the full story, every single time. It's really just a simple 4-step process. First, always start with your core question. What is it you really need to figure out? Second, grab your quantitative lens to measure the what and see how big the issue is. Third, switch to your qualitative lens to understand the why behind it all. And finally, step 4, put it all together. Combine those insights and you'll get a real 3-dimensional view of the problem. You know, the most important thing to remember is this. Quantitative and qualitative research are not enemies. You don't have to pick a side. They are powerful partners. In fact, the absolute strongest conclusions always come from using them both together.
And that really just leaves us with one last question for you. The next time you're facing a tough problem, ask yourself this: what do I need to figure out first? Is it how many, or is it why? Your answer to that question will tell you exactly which path to take. Thanks for joining this explainer.